After losing the Conservative leadership race, Peter MacKay is jobless and facing a massive debt from his campaign. It appears, though, he's mulling a return to public life despite the political defeat. The CBC's Catherine Cullen is here with that exclusive story. Hi, Catherine.
Hey, Vashi.
Let's start with the debt. What exactly is Mr. MacKay facing there?
Well, I can tell you that Peter MacKay is telling us it is about $1 million. And he does say, yes, Vashi, that is a very big number. It's going to require some work to retire it. Let's try to put this in a little bit of context, though. Look at what's going on with, for instance, the other candidates in this race. Aaron O'Toole's people tell me that the debt that he has is negligible, that they say they'll be able to pay off all their vendors in the next few weeks. Leslyn Lewis didn't come out of this with any debt at all. Derek Sloan's campaign didn't get back to us. But you really, it seems, have to hearken back to the race in 2017. This is about double what Kevin O'Leary racked up when he made that bid for the Conservative leadership that he ultimately stepped away from. It is a substantial number, and the consequences can be serious for leadership contenders who do not pay off their debt. There's the possibility, if you don't do it in 3 years, of, for instance, fines, even jail time. That is a possibility. That said, Peter MacKay sounds optimistic about all of this, saying that he does believe that while everybody's maxed out this year, when it comes around to next year, he's got his campaign team, he's spoken to them already, they are going to get things moving. He believes he can pay this number off relatively quickly, but then again, Vashi acknowledging it's a big number. COVID makes fundraising that much more difficult. And on top of that, the prospect of a fall election, which the Conservatives are very much focused on right now, that would make fundraising even harder. And it's tougher when you lost, too, let's be honest.
Yeah, so speaking of the loss, we haven't really heard from Mr. MacKay about his future until you spoke with him and you did this work. So what exactly is the future for Mr. MacKay?
Well, he's left Toronto, and if you've been following him on Twitter, you might know that he picked up sticks last week, drove his family, his wife, his 3 children, halfway across the country back to Pictou County, Nova Scotia. He is back in his riding of Central Nova. Right now, actually, his family is under a 14-day quarantine as part of the Atlantic bubble. He did leave his job. He's no longer with the Bay Street law firm that he was previously with. Since he's been back, he has had a conversation with the Riding Association in his former riding of Central Nova. He was on the phone with them on Saturday. They talked about the prospect of him heading back to politics, running as an MP again. And in fact, since then, the Riding Association has actually put out a statement calling on him to run. I want to read you just a little bit of it, where they say, when asked if he would run in the next election, he said, he being Peter MacKay, all cards are on the table, but it would ultimately be a decision he would make with his family. As you can imagine, Vashi, I asked him about that as well. The door is obviously open. Peter MacKay said, listen, I say the same thing I said in 2015, which is why would you ever close the door? He made the point that this has all been really hard on himself and his family as well, is really trying to focus on his family right now, and that any move to run for political office is something that he would have to consider very seriously.
As you were saying that, I seem to remember one interview that we did with him during the campaign, in which that's sort of this rapid fire thing at the end where I asked, would you still run if you lost? And I think he did say yes at the time. I don't think anyone believed him, but this certainly
and it would be such an interesting scenario because, of course, he would have to run under the banner of Aaron O'Toole, who he was just defeated by. One other interesting note about what he's up to right now, Vashi, he did tell me that he is doing a bit of a post-mortem of sorts to figure out what went wrong, and particularly looking at what happened in Quebec, because the predictions for the campaign were especially off there. And frankly, I think from everyone I spoke to, it's quite clear they were surprised by that outcome. So trying to get a sense of what happened, although he was very clear he's not trying to step on the new leader's toes in any way. But looking at other employment prospects, certainly, though, the door is still open to returning to being the MP for Central Nova, although, Sean Fraser kind of has that job tied up right now.
Very interesting. We'll get the power panel to react in a little while. Thanks so much, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.